Hi teachers, my name is Sarah Smith. Welcome to Lead to Teach, and you are both happy and sad today because this is our very last video in the classroom management playlist. Why are you happy? Because it means you finished all the videos. Why are you sad? Because it means there's no more videos for classroom management. And I know what you might be thinking, Sarah, how can you really summarize classroom management in only 16 or 17 videos, whatever it was? I'm hoping you can recall that it's because all classroom management, if it is effective, falls into one of these 5 categories. Do you remember this? That effective teachers manage their classrooms effectively because they know how to maximize their structure. They're highly organized behind the scenes. They clarify expectations for students. Students know how a behavior looks and how it sounds for every task throughout every day. Those teachers are really good at reinforcing appropriate behavior when students meet those expectations. But they're also good at responding to disruptions when students don't meet the expectations. And then the 5th and final piece of effective classroom management is that effective teachers know how to engage students. They know how to invite all students to participate during instruction. Is this familiar to you? So we're going to look at engagement one more time today. Can we start by just remembering the definition of engagement? Is that it's a strategy that invites all students to participate during instruction. Do you remember this? The school of fish moves together through the ocean toward a desired destination. Same thing with our kiddos. We're going to move them together through this sea of content toward our desired learning objective. We want everybody doing everything. No more single student participation. One kid raises his hand and the teacher calls on him and he provides the information for the class. No. We're all going to say it. We're all going to do it. Another way of saying that, do you remember we said was everyone will say it, everyone will show it, and everyone will write it. So everyone will say it. We talked about that the last 2 videos. We're going to review that in just a second. Today's topic, everyone will show it. Everyone will use some sort of movement or action to demonstrate understanding. And then everyone will write it would be tasks like everybody has a whiteboard, everybody has a graphic organizer, everybody has a worksheet on which we're writing something together. I'm not going to do a video about that one because it tends to be pretty easy and self-explanatory, but say it, show it. Yeah, for sure we want to look at these more closely because they require some finesse in order to do effectively and efficiently. Okay, 2 parts to say it. Do you remember this? They were choral response, where everybody is responding, everybody is echoing an idea or saying something vocally in unison, and then partner talk, where everybody is going to discuss an idea in pairs in order to further their understanding of the content. Okay, let's just do a quick review if you don't mind. We said, for instance, if I wanted my students to learn about habitats, it's very important to start by choral responding with the word habitat. So students, this is the word habitat. What word? Habitat. You got it. Hands up. Will you clap with me the word habitat? Ready? Habitat. Will you finger tap habitat? Ready? Habitat. You got it. Habitat is a 3-syllable word that means the place where something lives. And maybe I go through some examples and I further clarify that for students. And at the end of that explanation, I do another choral response. So my turn first. Habitat means the place where something lives. The place where something lives. You got it. Nice job. And once we've done some choral responding, we could do a partner talk where I say, what would be difficult about living in a desert habitat? Do you remember this? Is this familiar to you? And now the students are going to discuss, it would be difficult to live in a desert habitat because, and they're going to talk about those ideas. Okay, when we're talking about show it, that layer of engagement, what it means is having all students use actions or movement with their body in order to solidify understanding of an idea, and you're going to love this part because it's familiar, in order to solidify understanding of new or key ideas. If it's something new to the students or if it's key to their understanding, if it's very important to them having proficiency, then I can use some sort of action or movement to cement that in the student's memory. Okay, so for instance, with habitat, I might say to the students, okay, habitat means the place where something lives. Can we create an action to help us remember that habitat means the place where something lives? Show me what you think we could do. And maybe I just watch the kids as a class. Show me what you think we could do to remind us what habitat means. And because they're just showing me quietly and I don't have everybody calling out at once, that's a manageable task, right? And maybe I say, okay, I see a lot of kids doing this. They're putting their fingers together as though making the roof of a house. I like that. We could say habitat and touch our fingers together to remind us that habitat means the place where something lives. Well, you get your fingers up and show me the roof of a house and say habitat. Ready? Habitat. You got it. So it's a way of just cementing that idea in memory. Now, quick tip. Show it would typically be a precursor to partner talk. Typically, if show it is meant to solidify ideas for students, their understanding of what the content means in the first place, then I probably want to do choral responding, say the word habitat. I'm going to give you some examples, some clarification. We're going to repeat the definition. And then I'm going to do, let's create an action to remind us what habitat means. Everybody show me an action that we could do for habitat before I jump to what would be difficult or challenging about living in a desert habitat or visiting a desert habitat. Okay, so it made sense in the videos, I think, to keep the say it portions together, to have choral responding and to have partner talk back to back. But if you're talking about logically what makes sense for kids, it would be to do choral responding, some show it, some action, some movement before you dive into the partner talk, because the partner talk is the most rigorous and most extensive of those engagement tasks, if that makes sense. Okay, can we talk about the why behind show it as an engagement strategy? Here's what research tells us, is that movement helps anchor ideas in procedural memory, which maybe you've heard called muscle memory. It helps anchor ideas in procedural memory, which allows students to make meaning and remember what they may not otherwise recall. There was a really famous study that was done, I believe, in the late 90s, where a man who is known as HM had suffered some brain damage to his short-term memory, and he couldn't remember from day to day what had happened the previous day, kind of like 50 First Dates, if you've seen that movie. She wakes up every day not knowing what's happened the day before. The same was true for HM, and what happened is his doctors had said to him, HM, do you know how to draw a star in a mirror? And he said yes, he thought he could do that. And it's actually a lot more difficult than it sounds, because when you draw the star in the mirror, it reverses all of your hand movements. And so it's a lot trickier than it sounds. You should go try it if you don't believe me. It's kind of crazy. But they asked him if he could do this task and if he had ever done it before. And he said that he had never done it before, but he thought he could try it. So he would draw this star in the mirror. And what was interesting is that he began to get better over time. And the movements became quicker and the lines became smoother and the star looked more like a star from day to day to day. But if you asked him, HM, have you ever done this before? Have you ever drawn a star in a mirror, by looking in a mirror while doing it? He would tell you no. He couldn't remember from day to day that he had done it, even though his muscle memory was remembering what his brain could not, that he actually could do this task and was getting better and better and better at it. So there's a great plug, in my opinion, for procedural memory and putting ideas into muscles where maybe we couldn't vocalize it, but our muscles would remember it. And then one more piece of research is really simple, but really true and profound if you think about it. And that is that most people best remember what they have actually thought about. What? I think if you were to ask kids, okay, here's what habitat means, and we've said it a few times, will you show me an action that maybe we could use for habitat? If you have kids think about that and think about the meaning of habitat before they attach some sort of movement or action to it, they're more likely to remember what that means. So I want to show you a video. This is of first graders learning the dropping rule. And the dropping rule is basically the idea that if you have an E that comes in front of a vowel suffix, then you drop the E before adding the suffix. So like in bake plus ing, we drop the E in bake before adding suffix ing. Okay, that's the dropping rule. What I'm hoping you can notice is, beyond the research we've just heard, what additional benefits might come from having kids respond with actions during instruction. Would you just think about that as you watch this video? So the second part of the chant, Presley, no smiling like you think you're so smart. The second part of the chant goes like this. We're going to say, but If an E, you're just watching. If an E comes in front of a consonant suffix, and we'll just show the letter C for consonant. If an E comes in front of a consonant suffix, you leave it. You leave it. Kason kind of read my mind because we're just going to join them together. Like, yep, letter E, you're right next to the suffix. Letter E, right next to the suffix. So watch again. It goes, but if an E comes in front of a consonant suffix, you leave it. You leave it. Good. I wonder if we could try the whole thing. Maybe kind of slowly first time through. It starts if an E comes in front of a vowel. Let's try the whole thing. Ready? If an E comes in front of a vowel suffix, you drop it. You drop it. But if an E comes in front of a consonant suffix, you leave it. You leave it. Nice job. Okay. Here are a couple of wins I arrived at. See if you thought the same. First win is that the teacher can see at a glance when students are using actions who is participating and who is not, which is, guess what? A great form of formative assessment. I can quickly see who is on task, who is with me, who is understanding, and who is not, and provide some reteaching, clarification, correction as needed. So that would be win number one from using actions. Another win when you use actions during instruction is that it extends understanding for your advanced students, but it solidifies ideas for your struggling students, for kids who don't yet understand the content. Guess what we call that in education? Differentiation. What? It's so great that you can use actions and benefit your struggling students and your advanced students in one fell swoop. I look at this picture here of my beginning attempts at landscaping my house when I first moved in several years ago. And at the time, it was pretty sparsely landscaped. But over time, these plants have grown and I've added new plants to it, and it's a really beautiful area now. And I compare this to our kiddos who are struggling. You know, maybe for those kids who don't yet understand a lot of the ideas, those simple actions are the beginning of the landscaping in their garden of understanding. For your kids that already have some pretty substantial understanding and comprehension of an idea, then guess what? We're just adding more plants, we're adding more variety, we're adding more interest to their garden of understanding. So I love that using actions benefits every population along the way. Differentiation. Okay, then the last one, win number 3, when you're using actions during instruction, is that it adds variety and interest to learning. We also call this motivation, right? You increase students' motivation whenever you introduce actions and movement to your instruction. I don't know if anybody would have seen this. These are pottery, I guess you would call it, at a roundabout in the United Arab Emirates. And it's really interesting how many cars will slow down as they get to this roundabout and look carefully at this structure. Why? Because it's interesting, because we're not used to seeing something like this in a roundabout. Driving for a lot of us gets to be just a very rote and mundane task, but you put something like this in the landscape, something to look at, and all of a sudden it piques our interest again, and we're motivated to maybe keep going or to get to our destination because we know we have something interesting to look at or view along the way. So we want to show it as often as we can in order just to increase variety and interest in our lesson. I was in a kindergarten classroom just a couple of days ago, and these little kiddos are a really disruptive class. They are tricky. They are challenging. And as they were on the rug, all 25 of them, and they were kind of fidgeting and wiggling and talking and poking, and the teacher had been really clear about how we should be sitting and what we should be doing and praising kids who were doing it. I thought, I wonder how they would respond to some movement, if that would increase some motivation. So the teacher and I tried then, would you get your fingers up and just see if you can do the vowels with me? I want to show you what the vowels are in sign language. A looks like this. You close your fist and you put your thumb on the side like a little A. Will you show me A? Will you show me E? And we talked about what each of the sign language vowels looked like and had the kids do each of them. And what was interesting is how incredibly still the classroom became in terms of the kids were on task and the kids were engaged. And the only movement they were doing was the movement we were asking them to do with that sign language for the vowels. So it definitely adds variety and interest to learning, which then reduces disruptions. What? Engagement and reduction in disruptions? That's a win, right? Okay, so the question always becomes then, what actions or movement do I use? Can we talk about the how behind this? The first one that's really common and really easy to build into instruction is just thumbs up or down, which is what you would use when you want students to either affirm or deny an idea. So a couple of examples. I would not want to say, raise your hand, is 51 greater than 15? Who can raise their hand and tell me that? No. We're getting away from single student participation. Instead, what I'm going to do is, will you show me thumbs up or down? Is 51 greater than 15? Show me under your chin. What do you think? And I like to do it under their chin when I ask this, because as soon as you have kids doing it up in the air, what can they do? They can peek and see each other's answers. So it just makes it a little bit more likely that you'll get a true reflection of what the kids know if you have them show you under their chin. So thumbs up or down, is 51 greater than 15? Yes or no? Show me what you think, and then we can talk about why. Okay, I would not want to say, is N a vowel? Raise your hand and tell us who's the smartest kid in the class that can raise their hand and answer every question. No, we're not doing that. But show me thumbs up or down. Is N a vowel? What do you think? And then we can talk about why. Last one, we wouldn't want to say something like, raise your hand if you can tell me a savory food. Why? Because that's single student participation. I'm not doing that if I'm using engagement well. So instead I might say something like, thumbs up or down if you think this food would be savory. And I, as the teacher, am going to give them a list of foods and they are going to show me thumbs up. Yes, that would be a savory food, right? Salty or spicy, or no, it would not be. So thumbs up or down, would French fries be savory? Are French fries salty or spicy? Yep, French fries are savory. Next one, chicken nuggets. Yep, chicken nuggets could be savory. Next one, cupcakes. Good, cupcakes are not savory. So it's a way to provide think time as students arrive at an answer, and it's a way to let everybody participate in everything. Okay, so that's the first show it strategy, is thumbs up or down. Second show it strategy is called point to. Easy as that, and it's just used to invite students to identify location. And that location can either be on a page, for instance, like in a textbook or on a worksheet, or somewhere within the classroom. But point to is the second show it strategy. So I would not want to say something like, okay, who knows which clock shows half past the hour? Let's look at our worksheet, right? We're looking on the page. Who knows which clock shows half past the hour? Who can raise their hand and tell me? Nope, we're going to say, point to which clock shows half past the hour. Would you just point on your page which one shows half past? And I'm scanning and watching to see who can point at the correct answer. Am I checking absolutely everybody's pointer finger to see that they're pointing at the right one? No, I'm looking at those kids that I know tend to struggle, and I'm watching for them to be able to point correctly. And as soon as they've got it, then I know everybody has it. Those kids are my indicators for how the rest of the class is understanding, right? But we're pointing on the page, not just asking for a single student to respond. Okay, another one for on the page, another example. Instead of saying, who knows which picture starts with S? Let's look at our worksheet. Which picture starts with S? I would say, point to which picture starts with S. Would you just point on your worksheet? You got it. It's called the sun, and we're all going to say it together. Let's suppose you're doing something in the classroom where they could point. I wouldn't want to say, who knows the initial letter of the alphabet, but point to the initial letter of the alphabet. And I have an alphabet strip somewhere in the classroom where students can point. The initial letter of the alphabet is A. Everybody is doing everything. Okay, then the third one, the one that you probably can use the most often, and that would fall into our into the category that we used both for habitat and that you saw in the video, is to use fingers. And we use fingers for showing quantity or meaning. So a couple of examples with this. Quantity would be anytime I can use my fingers within 10. So for instance, instead of who knows how many more I need in order to make 10, I would say, show me with your fingers how many more do I need to make 10. If I have 3, how many more to make 10? Show me under your chin, and for the same reason, I'm watching for kids to show me under their chin the answer 7. Let's do another one, not with quantity, but with meaning this time. So instead of who remembers what savory means? I'm not about single student participation. I want to say instead, show me the action for what savory means. Do you remember what action we came up with for savory? Show me if you remember. And I'm watching for kids to show me, like shaking a salt shaker or a spice jar, something, right? We said savory. Do you remember that? Do it with me. Savory. You got it. Another one with meaning. Instead of, who can tell me if 60 degrees would be cold or cool? Let's suppose we're doing a weather unit in 2nd grade. Who can tell me, would 60 degrees be cold or cool? I could use an action for this and have the kids all demonstrate their understanding to me. So show me whether 60 degrees would be cold or cool. And I'm looking for, how are the kids, are they shivering and shaking to show me cold, or are they just kind of rubbing their arms lightly to show cool? And I'm watching for all the kids to demonstrate their understanding at this point so that we can discuss and clarify and keep going. Okay, can we try it? The challenge is, can you come up with an action to help you remember the 3 strategies for show it? To help you remember, thumbs up or down, point to, use fingers. I think it's most valuable if you pause this and think through it and come up with your own ideas for what action could help you remember these strategies. Because don't you remember, the research tells us that people best remember what they've thought about? But of course, I'll just keep going and show you what I would do. To help me remember these strategies, I say the 3 strategies for show it are thumbs up, down, right? And I'm showing up or down, thumbs up, down. Point to, using both fingers, pointer fingers to point out, point to, and use fingers, and just wiggling all 10 fingers to remind me. That could be for quantity, or it could be to make some sort of action with my fingers. So I'll do it one more time in real time. The 3 strategies for show it are thumbs up, down, point to, use fingers. And that's honestly how I remember what the 3 strategies are for show it, is by actually showing it. Okay. Practice. I know that this is too small for you to see on the screen. I totally know that. But this is in the guided notes, and I'm hoping we can go through it together right now. And what I'm hoping you can think about is, how could you turn each single student response into a nonverbal group response, either with thumbs up, down, point to, or use fingers. Can we just look at it for a second? So instead of, who can tell me the final letter of the alphabet? What makes the most sense there? Would it be thumbs up, down? Would it be point to some location? Or would it be use an action? Probably if you have an alphabet strip, it would make most sense to say point to the final letter of the alphabet. Just point if you know where it is. Yep, it's Z. Or if you've taught sign language, show me sign language for the final letter of the alphabet. And you're watching for kids to draw a Z and show you that they know that it's Z. Next one, who knows how many counters are in the 10 frame? Guess what? That's quantity. I can show 10 frame counters with my fingers. So instead of who knows how many counters, show me with your fingers how many counters are in the 10 frame. Show me if you know. You got it. It's 8. Okay, next one. Not, do you think a donut would be savory? Who can raise their hand? No. If I need kids to affirm or deny something, that's a really great opportunity for thumbs up, down. Thumbs up or down, would a donut be savory? You're right, it would not. Next one. Who knows how much a nickel is worth? I'm not doing that. What could you do instead? Who knows how much a nickel is worth? I would do, show me how much a nickel is worth. Will you show me with your fingers? The answer is 5 cents. You got it. Okay, so we would not want to say, look at your paper and raise your hand if you can tell me which set has more, or which set has the most. If it's looking at our paper and everybody has the same paper, then that would be a point to, right? Where we can identify on a page which set has the most. Point for me if you know which set has the most. You got it. It was the 3rd set. Next one, not. Would 6 plus 7 be a doubles plus 1 fact? Who knows? Is 6 plus 7 doubles plus 1? But this is affirm or deny, right? Show me thumbs up or down. Is 6 plus 7 a doubles plus 1 fact? Are 6 and 7 number neighbors? And kids are showing me, yes, it is a doubles plus 1 fact. Could I then add a partner talk to that? Tell your partner, why is 6 plus 7 a doubles plus 1 fact? How do you know that? And let's assume I hadn't just given them the clue about number neighbors. Okay, so back that up a little, but then I could add a partner talk if I wanted. Next one, instead of who remembers what squiggle means? What can you do instead? Hopefully we've done an action for the word squiggle, and I could say, use your fingers, right? Show me if you remember what squiggle means. Will you show me? And I'm watching for kids to show me that it means winding or curvy with their fingers. Not, who can tell me something in the room that is shaped like a circle? If it's location in the room, then I'm using point to, right? Point to something in the room that is shaped like a circle. And I'm watching for kids to point to the clock. I'm watching for them to point to the shapes poster. I'm watching for them to point to something on the calendar as we identify it together. Last one, not, raise your hand if you can tell me a word that rhymes with light. What am I going to do instead? Thumbs up or down, do these words rhyme with light? First one, bright. Next one, night. Good, yes, thumbs up. Next one, 9. Ooh, no, it's close, but not quite. So the idea here, even though you can't see all this small writing on screen, sorry about that, I know, but is just to think through, how often can I turn single student responses into whole group participation? Okay, here's a question teachers often ask then. Okay, well, that makes sense on like that worksheet, but how can you use this strategy in all subjects? Like, give me an example of teaching content in every subject. So I want to start with a read aloud because that tends to be the easiest place to implement this. And then we'll move to phonics, right? Some sort of ELA lesson. And then I'll do a math one just to give you an idea of how you can use this when introducing an idea across subjects. And if you don't mind, I'm going to bring in the choral responding too, right? Because we should be using these in conjunction with each other, not as isolated silos. Okay, so the read aloud is Animal Helpers by Kathleen S. Coleman. And here's what I might do. Where would you take your pet if it was sick? You would go to a veterinarian. Hands up, clap with me the word veterinarian. Ready? Veterinarian. You got it. Veterinarian is a word that means a doctor who helps animals. Who heard it? It's a doctor who helps animals. Nice job. People call this kind of doctor a vet. The vet will try to help your pet get better. She will check your pet's ears and eyes the same way a doctor would check yours. The vet will also listen to your pet's heart. She'll listen to the pet's heartbeat and make sure that it's normal, that it's not beating too fast or too slow. Sometimes a vet will also take an x-ray or give your pet a shot. Oh, and if the vet takes an x-ray, show me thumbs up if you know that that means they take a picture of the pet's bones to make sure they're not broken. Show me if you already knew an x-ray means taking a picture of a pet's bones. Yep, and they're all going to show you a thumbs up because even if they didn't know it, you just explained it, right? Or give your pet a shot. Now, what I'm doing as I go through this is thinking, okay, what's new or key? Is there anything new here? Probably words like ears, eyes, heart. Those are not new terms, but are they key to their understanding of what a veterinarian does? Absolutely. So not only is that where I'm going to have choral responding, but it's also where I'm going to introduce some action, some movement to solidify the ideas in procedural memory. So would you get ready to echo me? I just want to review what the vet will check. My turn first. The vet will check your pet's ears, eyes, heart, bones. And I'm touching each part of that body as we go through that, right? Just to add a quick action. I don't know if I'm going to say this. Yes, I'm saying it right here. I was going to say it right here if it hadn't been here, but here it is. And that's the idea that nonverbal responding, right, when we're using actions, is almost always or should be accompanied by vocal responding. So let me go back just a sec. I'm not just going to have kids show me an action that goes with each of these. I'm not just going to say, okay, so she will check your pet's ears, point to your ears, eyes, point to your eyes, heart, point to your heart. I'm not doing that because as often as possible, I want to bring vocal responding into the content so that I can increase and improve oral language ability. Because the better kids are at speaking about an idea, the better they are at reading about that idea and spelling about that idea, writing about that idea. So as often as possible, I am bringing in vocal responding. Nonverbal and verbal are married. They're joined at the hip. They go hand in hand. I want to say every time. Is there an exception to that? Not that I can think of right now. So should I say almost every time? Okay. Let's keep going then with phonics. With an ELA subject, how are you doing vocal and non-vocal responding in phonics? Again, I'm thinking what's new or key within this content, and that's where I'm going to have kids echo, and that's where I'm going to do some sort of movement or action. Okay, so I would say, students, listen for the sound that's the same at the end of each of these words. My turn first. Duck, duck, stack, stack, pick, pick. You got it. Tell me what sound was the same at the end of duck, stack, pick. Say it 3 times. K, k, k. You got it. It was the k sound. The k sound in these words is made by something called digraph CK. And again, that's probably new and key, so I'm going to have them repeat it. It's made by something called digraph CK. Will you say it? Digraph CK. You got it. A digraph is when you have 2 consonants, like C and K, that come together in a word to make one sound. And maybe I could have them echo that. My turn first. A digraph is 2 consonants coming together to make one sound, And that's a lot, right? But this is new, this is key, so I'm going to have them echo that. I'm going to have some choral responding built into that. But I'm also going to add an action now. So when we put C and K together in a word, they say k together. So can we show that with our hands? Will you take your pointer finger, and we're just going to make this finger the C, this finger the K, and we're going to bring them together to say k, to make that one sound. So it will go like this. C, K, k. And they made one sound. Will you try it with me? Ready? C, K, k. You got it. That's called digraph CK. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do. I was thinking, could I do a partner talk with this? And I could if I wanted to. I could also have done a partner talk with the where would you take your pet if it was sick? Because remember, partner talk will probably come after the say it and the show it. So we've done some echoing around veterinarian. We've done some echoing around ears, eyes, heart, bones. I've done some actions for that. Then I could say, tying it to the previous page, which was about zookeepers. Would you rather be a veterinarian or a zookeeper? Which one would you rather do if you had a choice? You're going to say, I would rather be a because letter B's go first. So that's, if you want to look at the whole sequence, that's how I could build in the whole sequence. But I probably wouldn't do a partner talk for phonics. But let's look at math, can we? I would maybe say to students surrounding place value, something like, we're going to learn about an idea called place value. Will you say it? Place value, because that's new, right? Or key. So we're going to say it. Place value means that where you put a number in these columns, hundreds, tens, ones, will tell you how many you have. Will you just read these columns with me? These are the hundreds, tens, ones columns. You got it. Nice job. So for instance, if I put a 5 in the ones column, it means I only have 5 single separate ones, and I count them like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can we do it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That tells me I just have 5 little chocolate chips. However, if I put a 5 in the tens column, it means I have 10 groups, or let me read it how I have it. If I put a 5 in the tens place, it means I have 5 groups of 10, which is a lot bigger number. Can we count these by tens and see how many it is? Starting 10, ready? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, if I have 5 groups of 10, it means I have 50. So for instance, 50 chocolate chips instead of just 5. That's a lot more. However, if I put a 5 in the hundreds column, then it means that I have 5 groups of 100. Will you count with me by hundreds, and let's see how many that is? Ready? 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Wow, like 500 chocolate chips instead of just 50 or 5. That's a lot more. Now, I don't care so much that kids know the difference between 550 and 5. What I really want them to know is that hundreds, tens, and ones change how many the number is or how many is shown, right? So probably what I want to do if I'm introducing an action for this is to say, to help us remember that hundreds, tens, and ones mean different things, can we get our hands out? And when we say hundreds, can we show that that's the biggest number? And we will say it in a bigger voice and we will say hundreds place. And try that with me. Ready? Hundreds place. But if I have groups of 10, that's a little bit smaller. So I want to make my hands a little bit smaller and my voice and say tens place. Ready? Tens place. And if I only have ones, those are the smallest of all. So I make my hands smaller and my voice a little bit smaller and say ones place. Do it. Ones place. You got it. So can we put it all together and we'll say hundreds place, tens place, ones place, using our hands and our voices. Ready? Hundreds place, tens place, ones place. You got it. Could I then add a partner talk about if I put a 4 in the tens place and a 4 in the ones place, do they mean the same thing? You're going to say yes or no because, and tell your partner. Okay, so I'm hoping as a recap now, after having talked about those 3 strategies, what are they? What are the 3 strategies for nonverbal responding or for show it? Do you remember what they are? Can you use your action to remember? And they were, did you get it? Thumbs up, down. Point 2, use fingers. And guess what I'm doing? Even as I say these right now, I'm in my mind, what I'm thinking is thumbs up, down. Point 2, use fingers. And I'm actually remembering those actions in my mind as I say them out loud. It really does work, even with adults. Kind of funny. Okay, last question, as always. What did you like or learn about using nonverbal engagement? And for me, you're not going to be surprised. This is so simple, but it's the idea that the show it strategy benefits our kids academically and behaviorally. Academically, it adds another layer of understanding. It anchors ideas in procedural memory. It helps with retrieval and recall and proficiency, but behaviorally, wow, it adds some interest, some variety. It increases motivation and on-task behavior. I love show it as a strategy. It takes a minute to get using comfortably and fluently, but the payoff is huge. So thanks for watching not only this one, but any previous ones that you watched as well. And I think thus concludes the classroom management playlist, unless I decided another point to add one more video or something. But I think that's it. Okay, bye.